Well, let's follow up on Amber's comment here. Can NASCAR start Michigan earlier? Yes, I think, even I think Kyle Larson tweeted this weekend as well. I missed the 1 p.m. start times from my rookie year. So, Brandon, I don't know what thoughts you have here aside from the infamous noon comments that David Land was bringing back this weekend as well. I'd like to at least get 1 p.m., especially at a track that doesn't have lights for a number of reasons, as Bob Pockris so reliably pointed out this weekend. But how do you feel about the start times here? And then to follow up on that, how do you feel about 11 a.m. on Monday? Do you think that with a forecast that didn't include a lot of rain today, do you think it would have been safe for NASCAR to start a little bit later to give people an opportunity to get out of work or school, or were you happy to just get it over with as quickly as possible today?
There's so many knots in this kind of thing to unravel, Ben. So I'll try to see what I'm thinking about here. Um, Starting with the noon, I am full team noon. Like I completely like you'll find me with a noon shirt. I don't know if he makes that, but if that's out there, I would wear that. Especially to somewhere like Indianapolis. That's a perfect place. Just icing on the cake to start at noon. But at the same time, there are TV partners, there are people in boardrooms that control these things that their job is to look at what time people's eyeballs are on the TV, and they make these decisions separate from I would believe separate from the rest of the organizations, and they have an idea of when they're going to have the most eyeballs on the race, and so that is, I mean, that's why they are later, because they want to get into the prime time area. Now, I mean, in the summertime, a lot of the prime time is reruns anyway, but that's another story. But I see why they do that. I don't always agree with it, but I can understand why they do it. Kind of the same way you understand the playoffs. You know, you don't agree with it, but you understand the appeal. It's some in some
Yeah,
ways. Yeah,
I understand. Yes,
yeah,
thank you. I
yeah.
understand the appeal. I don't understand the
Right.
system,
I
but
I
I
understand. Yeah. So for anyway, to not
yeah
get off the subject, for TV time, I understand why they do that, and sometimes I think it works. I mean, the sport is growing. Certainly, there's a lot of sellouts, and there's lots of reasons to believe that it's steadily growing. And I don't think um, I think having it in these right key times is got to play a part in that. Okay, but also going to the next day now. Um, Talking about why can't we have it later on Monday to get people, time to get off of work and get home. Like you and I believe we were both at work when this was going on, and even Jeff Striegel said on the MRN call, you're probably listening to us at the office with your earbud in, or wherever you're at to hear the broadcast today. Um, that and that situation on Monday, I'm thinking about the teams. What do they think about this? They need to get back to Mooresville as soon as they can. And so stretching this out for any length of time on Monday is not beneficial to the teams. And I think that's the main reason they go as early as humanly possible, get out of Brooklyn as humanly possible, and get rolling into their next week protocol, because like they're already behind. They have to get into Daytona mode. So I on both days, I get why they do what they do, but I also understand why we want to have them at the preferred times. It's just a balance of needs that are pulling two different ways on both of these days, and I understand why.
yeah, and I mean, I guess the argument coming up here in a couple of weeks is that if you start the race at 1 p.m., there's a bunch of NFL games to start at 1 p.m., and you're never going to win that battle. But I mean, if you start at 2 p.m. or 3 p.m., I feel like it's even more of a losing battle because any potential viewers that would have to choose, maybe they start watching the NFL game at 1 o'clock and then they just never switch over, or they get invested in the game and they never switch away to go over to the race. So I feel like that's a losing battle no matter how you look at it. But yeah, I mean, I understand that if you bleed into the prime time window, that maybe it provides a little bit of a ratings boost, especially for Daytona. Because I remember 2020 getting postponed over to Monday. I think that race didn't resume until 4 or 4:30. On a Monday night, which I guess for your biggest race of the year, trying to keep the ratings from becoming as much of a losing battle as you can. I guess I understand it from that perspective. But again, I mean, any time of year you're racing in Florida, I would prefer that you leave yourself as much of a window to prevent having to come back on a Tuesday or another situation like that. But I think, Brandon, your point is very you've got a very strong point there about the teams having to get back to their base in North Carolina or wherever the next race is. You try to shorten that turnaround as much as possible, make sure that they can get out of there at a reasonable hour on Monday and not lose more time than they're already forced to lose because of the weather. Matthew and I were talking yesterday, and he said he feels like 3:30 at the earliest on Monday should be a start to give people an opportunity to get out of work or get out of school, or whatever the case may be. But I just feel like, there's enough people that work, the afternoon shift or the night shift that I don't know if it makes enough of a difference to justify pushing these team schedules back even more. Or, it wasn't too much of an issue today, but, what if there have been more afternoon pop-up showers that come into effect? And, if you had the morning, you could have gotten more laps in the morning or the early afternoon. You're just setting yourself up for more potential problems right there. So those are kind of my thoughts on that here. Again, I'm with you. I understand the appeal that late start times have from TV networks, but I feel like at some point NASCAR just kind of has to put their foot down and say, we're a sanctioning body. Here's where we're having our races. Here's when we're starting our races. If you don't want to broadcast them, we'll go find somebody else who can.
Well, okay, I've got one thing. Another element to this could also be, what about the fans who they've got a hotel reservation for that Sunday night, and then you tell them,
Sure.
"Oh,
Yeah.
well, sorry, we have to wait till the afternoon." Well, sorry, I live in Iowa, man. We drove, X number of miles to get here just to watch this or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just imagine the fan implications too of their commute and hotel
Good point.
reservations. They don't make them stay around all day long just to, you see where I'm going with that. And
Yeah.
then also, I don't know what the times look like for next year, but when we have races on Amazon Prime, this might be a prime time to experiment with start times, because you're not bound to cable with
Yeah.
Amazon Prime. You could very well, I mean, you're still dealing with what time window are people watching things, but I mean, with Amazon Prime, that might be a way of, hey, your people who want to watch it, they know where it is, they know when it's going to be on. Try something a little more traditional and see if it sticks, because there's no precedent really for NASCAR on Prime yet
Yeah. Well,
until you make it.
and that's certainly true. And that's another good point. But then again, I think I don't know how many Law and Order fans were necessarily devastated that their 11 a.m. Reruns of a random episode from season 6 were preempted for a NASCAR race. I don't know that NBC's got to worry too much about that. Apologies to all the diehard Law and Order fans out there, but
Boom, boom.
yeah, that's got to be streaming somewhere anyway, right? You can pull up
Peacock.
I would imagine,
You can watch all of them on Peacock right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, and Amber follows up here. Is it worth keeping Michigan anymore? I think absolutely, and I think especially
Yeah.
with what happened to Fontana, the reconfiguration or whatever's going on there. This is the only 2-mile D-shaped oval that we have left. Texas World is obviously long gone. Fontana, at least in its current form or most recent form, is gone now as well. I think you have to keep Michigan, because if we lose Michigan, then where else do we have a track type like this? And I'm not a fan of the package that the Xfinity Series used. I love seeing those cars go 210, 215 into the corners. I think that it's a kind of spectacle that we only get here at this track. We're not going to get it at Fontana anymore going forward. So yeah, absolutely. I think a Day in My Life is absolutely right here. That's probably a top 5 track, I would say, at this point in NASCAR's history that is a non-negotiable here, at least outside the crown jewels, which should be obvious. But of the tracks that you could maybe say, we rotate in and out, or should they have 1 date or 2 dates? Michigan's got to be there, no question.
Absolutely. It is an endangered species. Michigan is a dinosaur now, and we have to protect it at all costs, because there's not in any time soon is someone going to go out and build a brand new racetrack that is that size and shape.
Yeah.
And Michigan deserves NASCAR and IndyCar date. Yes, they do.
Yes. Joe's right on point here as well. I don't know. I mean, again, that was '07 was really the first year I followed racing full time. So I don't know if the accident with Franchitti going up into the air, if that played any role in that being the IRL's last trip to Michigan. But I would love to see an IndyCar race there again. I mean, they went back to Fontana from 2012 to 2015. I know the 15 race was controversial for the pack racing nature that it became, but I think if you get the right package, why can't we put IndyCar back at Michigan? I think that would be a great addition to the IndyCar calendar, no question.
Yeah, they belong there really.